Hello and welcome again to another episode of No Prize Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Bud Young, and with me, as always, is Lucas. How are you, Lucas?
I'm doing awesome. How about you, buddy?
I'm
I'm
doing
freak-
really, really good.
oh man, freaking did you have enough turkey? Did you have enough freaking stuffing?
Oh, yeah, too much, too much. I had social distancing, had only 5 people over for Thanksgiving, and usually we have like 25. So, it was good. There was more than enough food to go around, which is, I mean, always the case, but even more so than normal. We overdid it on the desserts because even though we didn't have 25 people, I had 25 people worth of desserts. So it was good. It was good. And had took Friday off too to kind of chill and get over it. The one thing I missed was I didn't watch any football. And usually that's when I have like 20 people over. That's what we have on, and that's what everybody's watching. But we never even turned the TV on, which was weird,
Uh,
right? I mean, did
yeah,
you
yeah,
guys
yeah,
did you
yeah.
guys watch football?
Oh, I mean, yeah, what there was. I mean, there was like one game or two or something like that that did happen, but yeah, I mean, I watched a little bit, but not with any type of interest. I mean, it was like, you know,
Mm.
at this time of the year, there's usually the crappy there's usually the crappy games that nobody really cares about. So I end just spending more time freaking watching old freaking superhero movies and old whatever and reading more than freaking doing anything else. And just, applying myself and eating too much and freaking just enjoying all the bounty that God has given us. Oh man, too much food. I'm still eating freaking Thanksgiving leftovers. That's just the way it
Uh,
is, man.
Yeah, I polished off the Thanksgiving leftovers over the last weekend, and now I'm back on my diet. So, well, it's one of those double-edged swords. But hey, so one quick news bite that I want to talk to you about is not Marvel related, but it could be down the road. Is Warner Brothers announcing that their 2021 movie slate is going to be simultaneously released on HBO Max and in theaters. Do you think that might have some impact on what Disney decides to do with their slate of Marvel movies? Because don't they have like 6 or 7 of them coming out next year now because they're all backed up?
Yes. So that is the most interesting question that we just don't know yet. So if you look at just what just dropped, in fact, one of them, we're looking at Modoc today, right? Modoc is supposed to be one of those TV shows and everything that
Yep.
might have had something to do with the movies. That was one. That was one. And then Black Widow. We've been doing Black Widow for a while now. That one was pushed back. We don't know what they're doing with that one. Eternals, which has an FOC um, final order cutoff this week, and that was the one that had like 39 freaking variant covers. That was another one that was supposed to be coming out pretty soon. So it looks like all those books that were being on held till the movies came out, they just said, you know what, we might as well go ahead and
Yeah.
release the freaking books because there's no use in all that. So that is the biggest freaking downfall for Marvel. Um, is it going to be worth it for them to just hold off into the theaters? No, I'm willing to spend my money right freaking now. Give it to me freaking on HBO Max or give it to me on VOD. Charge me 30, 40 freaking bucks. They're missing out on that freaking money right now. So they can go ahead and continue with this whole Phase 4 plan. So,
Oh, I know for a fact that they could charge me movie theater prices for The Mandalorian, and I would pay it, and that's like a
mm,
half-hour episode. So I don't know what they're even thinking about. If they're going to drop a movie, and even if you rent it, right? If you have to rent it for 10 or 12, $15, it's totally worth it. I don't know why they're waiting, and they're going to end up having to do some kind of a content dump, right? Because they're
mm,
not going to release 7 Marvel movies next year,
right.
right?
No.
And they're still filming Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and Black Panther. They're all in filming right now. So
Sure.
I just I don't know what they're gonna do because it's. I used to talk about getting superhero fatigue in the movies before, but if we have one like every other month next year, come on, really, you know?
Exactly. Right.
So
Man, I mean, I don't know what they're thinking. Do they really think I'm? I mean, because AMC they're already boo-hooing because nobody wants to freaking come back to the freaking theaters. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, you think the first movies I'm gonna really want to freaking spend all my money on is a bunch of freaking Marvel movies back to back to back? No, sorry, no, no.
Mhm.
I guess I'm just gonna have to wait till it freaking comes out a year or two from now.
Yeah,
Uh,
because they're gonna
no.
dump it eventually, like they did New Mutants, right?
Hmm.
Well, I mean, we'll see it eventually. We just have to wait, and we're already we're pushing up against a year for Black Widow.
Right.
So
And the problem that they have with the problem that they have with New Mutants is that they kind of waited too long, right? I forgot that that was a freaking thing. So
yeah,
I literally was looking at it the other day. I said, "Oh, here's the thing for New Mutants. I should probably watch this." Nope, I don't care anymore. I forgot what it was supposed
yep,
to be about. Watch the trailer. Nope, don't care about it. So I'm saying, nope, bypass it. Their little window to strike is so freaking small that they don't take advantage of it. I'm just gonna forget about it and not care anymore. So,
no,
and that
yeah,
and the rest of the freaking, I think the rest of the Marvel fandom freaking just follow me.
yeah.
We just really don't care.
I
Like,
wonder what Disney is thinking about going for over a year without any Marvel content, right? Because I think a lot like you, uh, I don't really care to see the Black Widow movie anymore. You know, I mean, if they put it out on Disney Plus, fine, I'll watch it. But I'm not rushing out to the theater to go see it, and I'm not taking the family for sure. I'm not spending $150 at the theater. So
exactly.
you
I
know,
mean, there is literally ever since they announced the whole Black Widow movie, there is literally 6 to 7 freaking other movies that if you told me, hey, this was the Black Widow movie, I could have said okay, because female spy who's got skills, who can fight, who's been wronged in some way. There's been a bunch of those freaking movies. All right.
yeah.
Um, and now you're telling me that no, there's not going to be any Avengers on there. You're telling me there's going to be like Russian spies and Taskmaster and all this other stuff. Well, guess what? I don't care anymore. I'm sorry. You know.
Mm,
You know.
yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the books that we're doing because I mean this first book that we're going to talk about is kind of loosely related to the Marvel Comics universe, I think. And the way I mean loosely related is we're talking Modoc Head
Mm-hmm.
Games #1. I've never thought that I would be talking about Modoc getting his own book, but here we are. And the tie into this is that we have Jordan Bloom and Patton Oswalt writing this book with art with Scott Hepburn, colorist Carlos Lopez, and letterers by VC's Travis Lanham. And Patton Oswalt does the voice for Modoc in the upcoming Disney Plus cartoon animated. I don't want to say it's a cartoon because it's done more like Robot Chicken type
Yep.
stop animation. Um, but here we are, and the most recent iterations of Modoc that I'm used to, I guess, don't want to be used to as the slapstick comedy type Modoc that we've been seeing in the pages of West Coast Avengers or in other media. He's been kind of a joke, really. And this where why we could see the humor in it, but you do see Modoc run up against Monica Rappaccini, who is the leader of AIM, Modoc, who's the former leader or future leader of AIM, and we kind of start like a little bit of a what looks like maybe a civil war or Modoc escaping from AIM or kind of leaving AIM. Well, I guess we'll find out in the future issues, but this book, I actually enjoyed it a little more than I thought I would. When you picked this book, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be we're gonna read Modoc, and I actually thought this was decent. It gives a little backstory to Modoc, um, and and I think maybe we see a little bit. Of maybe a bit of foreshadowing of what we might see in the series, maybe. Um, so I'm interested in seeing what you think about it because I have a couple of issues with it.
Mhm.
Um, but for the most part, I thought it was decent.
Right, right. It's so the way to read this book is for Modoc is you got to read it in Pat Oswalt's voice, right? Uh, it's there's no other way to freaking read it, right? So the as much when it comes to Marvel writers, as much as they have an excellent way of conceptually saying, "Hey, this is the story. This happened, and then this happened." The thing that's always been missing is the dialogue, right? Hey, I thought this, and this is what I was thinking. Why this, and this is why I made this really stupid freaking mistake because I was doing this while we were supposed to be doing this. That's Pat Oswald. Pat Oswald. If you read it like Pat Oswald, well, hey, honey, I was in at the supermarket and I was looking at this chick walking by, and then oh, boom, that freaking accident happened. That's Pat Oswald all freaking day. That's why I freaking love this man. No, no, I don't want to take anything away from Jordan Bloom, who I also wrote with him, and some great art written by Scott Hepburn. The colors by Carlos Lopez were okay. Letters by Travis Lanham, okay. Um, and they kind of differentiated and where they're going with that. But it was just, but once again, the star of the show is if you read it in Pat Oswald's voice. Boom! There you freaking got it. So the thing that's happening is that this has actually been kind of building up, which is kind of weird, right? So we've talked before about how the King of Black stuff has been building up over years, and Thor stuff has been building up over years. Well, this freaking Modoc stuff has been building up over years because back in the background of all this Marvel stuff, uh, there's been this group that's been stealing stuff from the Avengers over time, right? And it turns out, well, Modoc's behind it, and we're on one of those heists by Modoc and the crew and the AIM and the Hive, right? Um, and we're on there, and then, but it kind of hones in on this family freaking surrounding. Hey, he's in the house, freaking chilling, freaking, and then he wakes up. Oh man, we're in the middle of the heist. I shouldn't have been freaking daydreaming about the freaking family, but um, and in the meantime, they lose the opportunity to get everything they freaking wanted from this heist, and then they freaking got to go back to headquarters, and then old girl, she's freaking going in on him. She's like, "You should have did this, and we should have been doing this, and doing this." And once again, he's just sitting there freaking daydreaming. And then the rest of the crew, they goes, "Well, Modoc, do you have anything to say for yourself?" And he goes, "Well, in the interim, while Monica spent lamenting, I used my computer brain to hack into 2,000 freaking brain top labs rocks around the world, causing each one of them to overheat, explode in their users' laps. I then rewrote the algorithms to popular social media sites, pushing the story to the top of every newsfeed, causing the Bain stock to instantly crash. And then I created shell companies to buy thousands of shares of Bain's computers, several computers, which, due to speculation, tripled their stock prices, allowing me to flip them, earning the exact amount we lost during the heist, with 12% interest. Now tell me, Monica, what have you done to benefit AIM in the last 15 minutes? And of course, look at Monica, she's just got that stupid look on her freaking face. And then he goes off, and then when he walks off with, you gotta imagine him walking off with that stupid Pat Oswald freaking smirk, that he freaking does, and then he freaking walks off, right? And then he goes in, and then he just goes off to his little freaking Modoc cave, freaking to contemplate what he's been daydreaming about. We don't know what's going on. So in the meantime, the rest of the hive, they've been saying, "Hey, man, we got to freaking do something about Modoc because he's not right." So, no, they stage, a coup or whatever you want to call it. Um, and then of course, Modoc is going to freaking defend himself against everything that's going on. So here's where it gets weird. He defends himself, and the other chorus, the perfectly Pat Oswald freaking thing is there's like hundreds of freaking these hive agents are coming out of freaking the corners, coming out of nowhere, and they're freaking and motors are shooting down. And then you got Agent 33 who just comes out freaking nowhere from the top belt, freaking does his thing. Yes, I, Agent 33, have defeated Modoc. It's like, what? And we don't know who Agent 33 is, but hey, fine, whatever. Um, and then of course, there's uh, there's a great shot of what's going on with AIM, the AIM Hive headquarters, and all this other stuff. which is very important because if you look at the Avengers, the newest Avengers game, the AIM Hive is featured prominently in that freaking game. For those who actually care about that stuff, then it eventually drops down to the bottom of the AIM freaking headquarters, and guess where all the stuff that they've been stealing out over the past couple years is? That's all that stuff is down there. So you've got like a copy of Ant Man's can't excuse me Ant Man's freaking helmet. You've got a copy of Captain America's freaking shield down there. You've got some Deadpool grenades. You've got an evil version of Herbie down there. You've got all types of crazy stuff freaking happening down there.
That's that's what I loved about this book. Was they steal all this friggin' technology and then they just keep it in the basement. And then of course MODOK gets it and they do get in a fight. I thought that was a little genius where for he grows Ant-Man's cybernetic helmet so it fits over his gigantic dome and then uses it. He didn't control any ants, but I just thought it was a good, funny visual. The one thing that I didn't like was because Monica ends up using the banner boost
Hmm.
booster to inject, and she injects it in her arm, and she gets a big Hulk arm. And I'm like, dude, I don't think that would just stay local. Like, I don't think that would just stay in her arm. But it was a funny visual. But I think that's what they were going for. But uh, I think Patton Oswalt's self-deprecating humor kind of lent himself to this book. And the other thing that I want to say is, do you know who James Noble is? He's an actor. He was in Lord of the Rings and Fringe and Sleepy Hollow. An
Sure.
older guy.
Yeah.
I think that the artist really intentionally made MODOK's head look like James Noble in several pages.
Mm.
Like I was like, wow, this looks like that guy from Lord of the Rings. And the more I looked at it, the more I was like, yeah, it kind of does. So good. Hey, good pick. I'm gonna flame on this book, and I never ever thought that I would flame a MODOK book on, and I did. So
Well,
thank you for picking it.
yeah, I mean, it's you when you think of Modak, you usually think of the serious guy, who's supposed to be so much smarter than everything. But instead, they they just showed him as a regular freaking guy who, even on his worst day, can beat the bad guys. I mean, so that's an interesting dynamic because once again, and I've been beating this horse down. Like anytime you see a character like this, and he's been slipped in to a whole bunch of other stuff. Like I've seen him slipped into freaking the Hulk and some Avenger stuff. He's been slipped in all over the place because they're trying to get everybody to understand this is a regular character. This is a great character. His first appearance was like Tales of Suspense number 93, back from like 1967 or something like that. So he's been around for a while right now. Do I think people should freaking pick up his first appearance? Absolutely, absolutely. Especially if he's got um, a TV show coming out. It's just that a matter of, are they going to be able to do it right? Well, Pat Oswalt, if he's the writer of this, he's showing that they may be able to do it. So we'll see.
Well, I guess I'm surprised and a little bit impressed by what they've been able to do. So pick up this book. This was interesting. Let's jump to Daredevil
Mm,
number 25, which was sneaky important.
the pick, the speculators' pick of the week.
What is up? Because I have been reading Daredevil for years, and I've been reading this Zdarsky run and been very impressed with it. I really, really like this story. I did not see this coming. I did not see any announcements. I did not know this was a big issue and that you were going to have to get that and it was going to be crucial. But the big thing is, this is the beginning of a new storyline. But at the end of the last storyline, so just to give you guys some backstory, so Daredevil mistakenly killed a felon while he was out patrolling, and that was the whole basis really for the whole series, the last 24 issues. And in the last issue, he went to court pled guilty, and now he's in jail, and he's paying his debt to society for manslaughter, and he's supposedly got a 2.5 year sentence. So, um, I kind of figured that they were just going to fix this, and by the end of the next arc, he'll be out. But no. In this issue, you see Elektra visit Daredevil in prison, which they're kind of letting him keep his mask on, and that's storyline based from the entire run that Starsky's been having, which you really should catch yourself up on, because Daredevil has been one of those sleeper hits for Marvel for the past year or so. But Elektra ends up donning the Daredevil costume and becomes the new Daredevil, and she looks awesome, and she kicked ass, and I never saw it coming. That's really the basis of the whole issue. There's nothing really else to explain. It's called The Red Fist Part 1, and I'm going to give credit to Chip Zdarsky's writing, Marco Cacchetto as the artist, Marcio Menez as color artist, and Clayton Cowles as letterers. What did you think about this book? Because I mean, I like Daredevil anyway, but I got halfway through this book and I went, "What?"
It was, so like I said before, it was the speculators pick of the week. So there is a 1 to 25 of this, done by Laraka. That's the one that's like right there in the middle in the smaller print right there. And nobody, once again, nobody really saw it coming. Yeah, people have been reading Daredevil, but they haven't been collecting it with as much vigor, that they would say, "Oh man, I definitely need to get that incentive," right? Um, and then if you go out there right now, you're going to find copies of this going for like $100 right now.
And it came out 5 days ago, guys.
5 days ago, $100. And that's because once everybody saw this freaking Elektra in this costume, they went nuts. And that's funny because this is the most clothes I've ever seen Elektra like ever, right? Um, like, oh yeah. So,
Well, hey,
uh,
I'm gonna throw a joke in here.
uh,
What does the double D stand for on her chest? Anyway, go ahead.
um, I mean, there's some central points that she was trying to make here. I pulled that out. She says, "Hey, you're a fool." She's using big words here, like, which is kind of crazy because I could have sworn English was her second language, right? Because she's Greek, right? But here she goes. She's using big words that even I can't freaking say correctly. To assuage your guilt, you're willing to sit here for 2 years. How many lives could you save in 2 years? And I remember your fireside college chats. You're a man of ethics, so how ethical is it to let people die because you made a mistake?
It's a good,
Okay.
that's heavy, man. When you read that, that's the stuff that I like Marvel for, is because they put their characters in these moral dilemmas that you don't know how they're gonna act, and you're gonna create friction. It was like there are some fans out there that say, yeah, he killed somebody, he should pay the price, and of course other people would feel just like Elektra. I'm just waiting to see how it all pans out, right? Because I know there's no way Matt Murdock spends 2 years in jail, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But
Um,
you know what? I want to see Elektra as Daredevil. I want to see what she does. I thought this was I told you I was blown away because I don't read previews anymore, so I didn't get like the little one sentence blurb saying you must pick up this issue whatever you do. I thought it was just going to be the start of a new storyline, and then I didn't hear any rumblings about it, and then I read the book and I was like, wait a second. I was like, this is, if this was 25 years ago and it was like we're replacing Daredevil in the costume, it would have been a huge thing, and they would have plastered it all over media before the book came out, right? There was
exactly.
no media for this at all,
No.
and just think just a couple of years ago, Daredevil was all over Netflix, and he has a pretty big following outside of comics, so
Yeah. Now it
it's a
does. Right.
yeah.
It's amazing. The interesting thing that I mean, look, there's a lot of interesting things in here to include. We can I forget the name of Matt Murdock's freaking teacher, Stick. Yeah,
Yeah.
Stick. He's back in this freaking thing, and the main point about it was that they found this book, and the book tells them how to defeat the Fist. And in order to defeat the Fist, they need a king and a queen. Um,
Right.
um, and she is apparently going to be the queen, and she wants Matt Murdock to be the king. But in the meantime, he once again he's still going through his little ethical quandaries. He says, "But I live in darkness. God gave me darkness so I could understand the light." Right. So the reason why that's important right now is because of that bigger storyline that we're going to go to in King in Black, and there's several themes that are going in there. The most importantly is the fact that Knull was the darkness. He is the darkness. He is the void, and he hates the light. So there have been other covers that I've seen so far where Matt Murdock or Daredevil, whoever it is going to go up against somehow is going to go up against Knull. Don't know how that's possible, but that's what it is. So that's how we know that quite possibly Matt Murdock is going to break out somehow, or maybe Noel is going to go into the prison. Um, what that has going to have to do with Daredevil and how he's going to be able to go get, have no freaking clue. However, the the fact that they're saying the hand has a counter for thousands of years before they chase one hit until now the fist. The hand is darkness, but the fist is light. And that's a big thing that's been missing from all this other stuff is that right now we're trying to figure out, all speculators are trying to figure out, okay, who is this light, who is this god of light that's going to go against Null. So this kind of I hope they're not playing with this right now. I hope they're not freaking just freaking trying to, oh, this might have to do with no. I mean, this to me says that this might be where it's going. And then it's, of course, Stickers go out there going saying, "Yeah, while you're out there, I had a guy translate. It's like we thought the fist needs a king, queen, and a king. So this is why Electra is going out of her way to rob the Stromwinds to get $1 billion, so she can buy up all the properties and all that stuff inside uh, uh, the Hell's Kitchen in order to get on the good side of Daredevil." Um, so that's the interesting thing. And then in the meantime, he eventually said, "Well, no, you did this and you did that, but I still don't trust you.
Hmm.
I know we just got butt naked and the skivvies together, but I still don't trust you." Well, well, damn, Daredevil, what do you need? What do you need for her to do? Well, so apparently she thinks that the best way to get him to trust her is to go ahead and get in that Daredevil suit. Um,
Well,
and hopefully she's going to do some good that way. I don't know how he's going to hear about all the good deeds, but no, that's whatever. Um, but once again, I've seen several covers in the future where he's already back in the suit. He's already freaking doing his thing, or maybe it's his brother, right? Because he asked his brother to do some stuff for him. Uh, but
yeah. Well,
who
we
knows?
could talk about his brother all day, but
Yeah,
it's interesting.
yeah,
That's so this book really is the biggest flame on that I've had in a while, just for the surprise that it has in the middle of the book, which we spoiled for you already. But the book, complete flame on. Get this before you can't get it, because it's going for megabucks right now, and you know, get it while it's hot.
absolutely. I mean,
So
yeah, I mean, talked about spoiling it. I mean, if you've been listening to anything Marvel completely, it's already been spoiled for you. You should have been on this book. Um, I
mm,
can't tell you anything else. Like if you see this book on the shelves, I'm talking about that 1 to 25 because I've already seen some guys. They're like, "Yeah, man, I just walked to my local comic book store and it was like $8, $8 for $100 book. Grab it." you know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Now I
and
can't tell you what it's going to do tomorrow, or next week, but get it, grab it, sell it, and then freaking, let's get ready for the next week.
all right. So well, let's take a quick break, and we will be right back to touch on King in Black. And Lucas has been waiting for years for this.
Let me ask you a question. Are you wanting to read a new comic book that has nothing to do with the big two? Are you tired of looking through countless titles and have no idea where to begin? Well, don't you worry, because the random dude Josh and Johnny the Machine Hughes has the podcast for you. Flipside Focus, only on the Undercover Capes Podcast Network.
And we're back.
Let's go.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump into King in Black #1, and this has been really on everybody's radar for literally way over a year, right? I mean, they've been building up, and I know that. So they released a companion book with this, right? They released the Knull Marvel Tales book, which is like 100-page giant, which reprinted all of the really important books in the that build up to this, and that was what there was Venom 3 and 4, and then Carnage, Web of Venom, Carnage, and something else. But why don't you take us through King in Black and let us know what we need to know? I'm sure we've been talking about it, so the regular listeners should kind of already know what's going on with this book, but seems like we're getting a lot of other characters involved now.
Right. So in the beginning, there was darkness, and then the light came to take away that darkness. Well, guess what? That darkness was a humanoid type being called Knull, and Knull was this being that he loves the void, he loves the darkness, and then he built or made the symbiotes. The symbiotes that we know of as the ones that are synonymous with Venom, right? Um, they're actually called the Clintar, and from that Null's Tale #1 that you've been talking about, there's all the hints about the fact that they've been all over the Marvel universe. They just were called differently at different times. At some point, Null, who's been sleeping in a prison of his own making, I guess, um, just woke up, and now he's heading towards the Earth to go ahead and collect all the rest of those symbiotes that have just been going everywhere, right? So Venom, Eddie Brock, got hint of this, so they decided to warn the Avengers, "Hey, Null is coming. Null is coming. We gotta do something." So they hatched this plan of what to do. So they bring out all the big guns except for the really big guns, which happens to be some of the children, right? Because I know for a fact there's some children out there that are big guns. So, for instance, Eddie Brock's son Dylan, they decided not to use him. There's Franklin Richards, right? Who, once again, he was a child, so they decided not to use him, and which I guess kind of plays into Outlaw, right? The whole Outlaw storyline. There's Thor, right? They can't find Thor. Um, because he's got his own little issues with Regan Donald Blake. Um, there's all types of weird stuff that would preclude them from using the actual big guns in the storyline. Um, and it's kind of interesting the way they went with it. And in the meantime, so Null comes out. He's got all the freaking little monsters that freaking coming out and they're freaking just tearing up the earth. Once again, Captain America, he's the point man. Freaking, hey, direct the forces here, direct the forces here. For some reason, one of the big guns that they've got, who is She-Hulk, she's just sitting inside, drink coffee. I don't know why they decided to have her inside instead of outside freaking fighting. The They do recruit the X-Men to help them out, but it's just like the regular X-Men, which is kind of weird, even though they have a full country full of X-Men, powerful X-Men that could have freaking helped them. And what I don't know is when this actually happened. I don't know whether it's happened after the whole Cocoa War, the whole Cocoa Rocco War. Don't know. They didn't really indicate what was going on with that. Doc Strange, he pops out, and which is kind of freaking weird for me because he's all in these other freaking storylines, so I don't know when this has happened to him because once again, he's supposed to be in the Spider-Man freaking another world right now, but hey, here he is. Um, they've got Tony in this thing. That's I'm not you know what I'm not going to freaking go into more like all these characters that are here that shouldn't be here because they're all doing something else. But what was interesting was the Celestials, right? Null now controls the Celestials. The reason why that's interesting is because the thing of light that brought Null out of his haze was the Celestials. The Celestials brought the light into this darkness. Null didn't like it. He made this knife out of one of the Celestials to kill the Celestials. The Celestials didn't like that, of course. They freaking balled him up and threw him further into the darkness away from him. Right. So that means that the Celestials were just as powerful or more powerful than Null. Well, now Null somehow could now controls the Celestials, and he's got them controlled by the symbiotes and everything, and he's got them doing his own bidding. Uh, and I'm trying to see if there's any other stuff because once again, all this stuff is playing out through the Atlantis attack stuff. This is playing out through the unit stuff that we were going to talk about a little bit later. Um, and yeah, that's about it. Oh, so the other big thing was, and this was very important to speculators, is that speculators were speculating that maybe that God of Light was somehow maybe Eddie Brock. Well, if we can cut that off because we can, no, Null freaking grabs Eddie Brock up, freaking just takes the freaking symbiote off of him and just freaking throws the symbiote away and just throws Eddie Brock away. He's once again he's 2,000 feet up. Just bye. The other speculation thing was Sentry. People were saying, well, maybe Sentry was going to be the God of Light. Well, he freaking did the same to him. Freaking tore him in half. Take the symbiote and took the symbiote. Freaking ran. Um, so there's a lot of who is the main man in this freaking in this comic book, and it's all no. He's shutting everybody down and making sure everybody knows there's no help. There's no help. There's no help coming for you. Um, and I freaking love this. I think this is set the tone for what it should be. Um, what's interesting is that people aren't really hype on which covers they should be getting because we don't know yet, right? You mentioned that Nostell, that Marvel Nostell, which is a totally different book. There was a 1 to 50 of that, which is like a Virgin cover of that. That one was going for like between 120 to 150. So if you can get that for cheap, go ahead and freaking grab that one up. Uh, what I do want people to pay attention to is there's this cover, right? Um, there is a special secret cover in which um, this character. So the normal cover has this character right here, which is normally the Hulk, but on the secret variant, it's the Thing, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, it's the Thing, right? Which is
That's
kind of
interesting.
right, which is kind of interesting because before I've been collecting the dots, and I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on, but I do think that somehow the monster and the one beyond below all is somehow connected to Null somehow, some way, or the many angle ones somehow, some way, right?
Right.
Which were connected to the Hulk, right? Well, if you got the Hulk and you're taking him out in exchange for the Thing, the reason why that's interesting is because when it was the whole announcement with She-Hulk was made, with her being the immortal She-Hulk, right? Oh, she's immortal She-Hulk. Well, the thing was like, well, I'm immortal as well, so I don't know what you want me to do because I'm not going to die. It's, so we kind of just parsed it off as like, hey, he's just talking bull stuff because that's just the way the thing is. Or is it some indicator that he is immortal? He is immortal. He does have a connection to the Green Door. He does have connection to the one below all somehow, which would somehow make his whole makes somehow a connection to the whole Null thing. Don't know yet, but I think this cover is somehow a start to that whole thing. Another King in the Black thing to watch out for is the Stormbreakers. It's a Ryan Stegman cover that's out there that people need to keep an eye out for. And then there's a party variant that's out there, which is kind of slick. I think this one. Don't quote me on this one. It just says Philip Tan, maybe. Yeah, Philip Tan. this one's a nice variant as well. So keep your eyes out for those because those are going to be really rare and not just going to be everywhere. So I think it did what it's supposed to do. Set the tone. The art was really good. I'm going to flame on this one. What did you think? Because I know you didn't really. You were just. What did you think?
Yeah, the whole idea of Null is, I like that Donny Cates has been building this up for years, and when rereading when I read the Marvel Tales book that kind of republished the most important parts, made me realize how in depth his planning actually went, which made me respect it even more. Even though my entire adult life, I can't. I've never ever been able to buy into Eddie Brock as a hero. He's always been a villain to me, and when I read about books like this where he is like the protagonist, and it's very very hard for me to root for him as the hero, and that I think that affects my enjoyment of the book because I don't buy in. um, this book, I liked because I mean it is wall to wall action, beginning to end. There are a ton of characters in here. Um, it's hard to keep track of all of them at once, really. But you get the little character pieces. There are some things that I'm a little bit confused about, but I kind of feel like I trust Donny Cates now to kind of explain what's going on. Um, I was a little taken aback of the X-Men being involved at all, really,
Right.
because usually they're kind of like in there, or you expect them to be on an island, really, and not involving themselves in the affairs of mankind, which is basically what X-Men has been doing for the past couple of years. And then halfway through the issue, didn't like Professor X opens Krakoa up as asylum, right? And
Yeah.
and that threw me because I was like, did Jonathan Hickman sign off on this because they're not supposed to allow humans on Krakoa? And
Yeah.
I was kind of getting all indignant about that. And then with the Sentry, that was a huge throwback to New Avengers. And if you remember, I think it was like the first issue of New Avengers where Sentry rips Carnage in half. Knull returns the favor in this issue and tears Sentry in half. But the problem with Sentry is he's been tied to Knull as well, right? With the
Hmm.
Void. So, and he even says before he gets ripped in half, he says, "No, the Void, you'll release him." So that is something that's going to come back, I think, to haunt everybody by the end of this thing because the Void is kind of like a Null type character, and I who knows, maybe it'll end up being more of maybe it creates conflict there, but I thought that was smart, and uh, and I think Donnie did a really good job in kind of tying everything together and making it seem really kind of important. I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit about the Celestials being controlled by Null because I feel like they have the gods, and then that level above is the Celestials, right? So, like, I kind of thought that the Celestials should have been untouchable, which, again, maybe that's a good twist in this book because it's going to keep me guessing and um, I don't have to like everything,
Right.
but I like the weird part was the venom or the symbiotic shield that Null just put around the Earth, and the only thing I don't want to see, and this will be my greatest complaint, is if we have venomized versions of heroes uh, throughout this crossover because we've seen it before. It's old hat, and I hope they do something different. But other than that, I'm gonna flame on this first issue because it really kind of it went out of its way to make Null look absolutely unbeatable,
Yeah.
and
That's
that's
absolutely.
that's a good thing. So we'll see what they do. But let's shout out Donny Cates writing and Ryan Stegman penciler, who they've been a long time involved with Venom. JP Mayer anchor, Frank Martin color artist, and hey, Clayton Cowles. Where did we see him before as the letterer? Uh, So yeah, huge flame on for this book. We've been waiting for this for a while. It's been building up for across the entire Marvel line, really. And if you're a big conspiracy theorist like Lucas, it's been in every book. Every book, if you've been reading it, has something about Knull.
Absolutely, it really does, and it's like, because I've usually said, man, I must be crazy, but I could have sworn I saw that, and this book just brought it home, man. Because even the whole, like you were talking about the whole Century thing, right? No, where
Mhm.
was, because I was like, man, Doc Strange back in the day, he was saying some weird stuff because he actually teamed up with Sentry to fight Loki for a little bit. And I was like, man, that's kind of weird, man. And sure enough, who shows up? Doc Strange and Sentry. So all we need is freaking Loki to show his butt up, and freaking let's go from there.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
see. We'll see what happens. It was a good first issue, and I've said this before. Line-wide event books, the first issue is usually awesome, and then they just drop the ball. So we'll,
yeah,
we'll see what happens. It was good, and this is different from other event books, right? Because usually the event books start and that's the beginning of the story. King in Black has been literally been building up for at least 2 years. So that to me, that means long-term investment in storyline, which is why I love Marvel. I love continuity, and if this is, if this leads to lasting changes for the Venom character and maybe for others, I'm all for it. And I can't flame this book on high enough. It was great.
mm,
So
absolutely.
all right, let's jump over to the last review, and that is going to be the Union #1. And why don't
Yep.
you kind of take us through this? Because uh,
Right.
yeah, what
So written by Paul Grist, pencilers Andrea DeVito with Paul Grist, inkers by Drew Garaci de la Underwood, and Paul Grist. He was busy, really busy on this joint. Colorist Nolan Woodward and VC's Travis Lanham. So I'm getting the inkling from this that the unit is supposed to be sort of like a UK United Kingdom version of the Avengers somehow, right? You got this group of five uh, superheroes who have these superpowers. The only thing is they're kind of sponsored by this big company. And they don't want to just go out and freaking fight crime or whatever. First of all, they've got to gain the confidence of the country by doing social media. They've got to do interviews. They got to show what their superpowers are and all this other stuff. So, in order to show what it is, they actually have a media day where they play capture the flag. Okay, all right, that's where we're going with this. Fine, they're playing capture the flag, and they're not playing capture the flag against bad villains or freaking other superhero. They're playing capture the flag against each other. Fine, um, and right in the middle of this, they're having conflicts with each other and with your boss. Because their boss is like, "Well, I want you to do it this way," and whatever. Right in the midst of that, this is actually, it looks like it's the introduction of the whole King in Black scenario into them, because those monsters from Knull just drop out of the freaking sky and just freaking start laying waste. One of the main captains, I forget what her name is Britannia.
Britannia.
Yeah, Britannia. She freaking rises up to freaking go after him and attack him and freaking kill him, and within one swoop, the tail of one of those creatures just freaking rises up and just freaking impales her. Boom, game over. She's done. Right. Um, and then the other characters are like, "Well, we can't let that happen," and they freaking say, "Oh, all right, for God, Queen, whatever," and they freaking rise up and they're freaking out. And then that's it. That to me, that's it. There is nothing else to this, and that would be fine, right? Except for the fact that they hyped this up so much, because there are several covers to this. There is a 1 to 50 of this, and then there's a 1 to 25 of that, and there's so on and so on, with Capt or Britannia as the headliner, and she's on the freaking cover, which makes me think that she was supposed to be a bigger part of this whole thing.
Well, she's on the cover for next issue too, so maybe she continues.
Yeah. So I don't know what. Hopefully this wasn't just. Hopefully this was just like a fake death or whatever, and or something else, man. Or maybe she's just sick, not freaking quite dead yet. You know, freaking like a whole Monty Python type deal. Um, but in the meantime, no, the main character that everybody was really looking forward to was the Snakes character. That's that character that's in the black hood. We don't figure out what's going on with him, or what his powers quite is yet. Um, and that's what we were really looking forward to figure out what's going on, and what their responsibilities are. So right now, it looks like right off the bat, they're going to be fighting um, against Null creatures. Okay. This is it's going to be. I can already see this is going to be disappointing to me, right? Because I I I am rah-rahing for Marvel on the fact that they're trying to build out the Marvel universe. Like, I like the fact that they tried to build out the whole Wakanda universe, right? I like the fact that they tried to build out the whole Asian universe with the whole Pan thing, with the whole Atlantis, and I forget the name of the new agents of Atlas and all that other
Yeah.
stuff. I thought that was freaking great. Even though right now they are failing horribly because they got the characters, but they're mostly infighting against each other, right, rather than fighting actual Asian threats, actual Asian political stuff, right? And my inkling is that's going to happen the same thing with this whole union thing, which is a shame, right? Um, so it's right now it is a it's an invisible woman to me. There was no real reason for this, or real reason for this team right now. But hey, maybe you felt different, Professor. What did you think?
Well, let's. I'm going to shout out Paul Grist as the writer, and I don't remember ever reading anything that he's done. But he's also given penciler credit too, along with Andrea DeVito. So maybe get a double threat here, writing and penciling. So I look forward to seeing more stuff from him. We have Drew Grassi, LeBeau Underwood with Paul Grist did some inking too. Oh, hey, look at that. And then Nolan Woodard as the colorist and Travis Lanham is a letterer. The thing that makes me interested about this book is that this book really must have um, some fans at Marvel, because this book was actually slated to be an Empire tie-in, not King in Black.
Mm.
Would they even have published the first cover with an Empire trade dressing and not King in Black in the corner? So to me, that's interesting. And maybe what delayed this was because, because of the pandemic, they didn't release half of the tie-ins that Empire got or was supposed to get. And they wanted to find an outlet for this. So my guess is they redid the artwork at the end of the book, because this is a very loose King in Black tie-in. Really, you don't. The only real thing that keys you into the King in Black is the very last page where um, they're standing and they have the zombie type guys with the venom symbols on their chest. So to me, that's the only really thing. Even the dragon, I was like, that could have been from Empire, right? That could
Mm.
have been like a plant-based dragon or whatever. So to me, I was like, okay, they must have had some belief in these characters, because with the exception of Union Jack, these are all brand new characters. We've never seen them before. Britannia and the Snakes and the Choir and Kelpie. Um, they have never appeared before in the Marvel universe, and I think you're exactly right, where they're trying to diversify the Marvel universe and show that every country has their own heroes. Where we see, I mean, we know England has a ton of heroes over there, but these ones are new that we've never seen. Um, and I think that these they're trying to get these guys some legs and see who likes them. Um, I thought this was an okay book. It is definitely a tie-in that is so loose you don't need to read it to understand the rest of King in Black. It's not crucial at all. It's that's my biggest problem is that they kind of released it with a King in Black logo on it to kind of get you to buy it. I'm a huge fan of Andrea DeVito's art, and I really really wish that he would do more stuff. Um, I think it's a good start. I'm on board for issue 2, and then we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, I think you should give this a shot, especially if you're looking for new characters to like, and if maybe for some reason all of the new characters they introduced over in Atlantis Attacks or the Asian characters aren't doing anything for you, give these guys a try. I think that they have potential, so let's see what they do with it.
Sure, absolutely.
So I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah.
I am really kind of impressed that they actually could find a slot for this once they canceled half of Empire's tie-ins. For them to find a spot for this book, and all they really had to do was probably some minor changes in the art and writing. They might not have even had to change the writing. They just changed the way the bad guys look, and now they're venomized people instead of plant people. So
Oh, jeez. You think
I,
so? That would make sense to me.
I truly think that's what they did. I couldn't find it anywhere, but you definitely can find this exact cover with an Empire logo on it instead of King in Black. So I was trying to read this and try to figure out where they would have changed it to make it a King in Black tie-in, and that was the only panel that I could see that would have needed to be changed. Everything else could have been just cosmetic. So to me, I think that's probably a good lesson on maybe editing or creative kind of rerouting, which I don't think we've. I mean, I'm sure we've seen it before, but probably not recently, right?
Right.
So,
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
but anyhow, I'm going to flame on this book. I think that you should just give it a shot, just because it's got new heroes in it, and it's like first appearances of like 4 characters, right? So, who knows if it takes off, you're going to wish you had it.
Yep. Absolutely. So you never know. You never know. I don't have high hopes for it, but you never know.
Well, we'll see. Lucas, you're usually the one that's on board with the speculation. So maybe this is a dollar bin book, that's just waiting to happen. So
Yeah. I mean, let's get like you said. We'll see. We'll see.
all right. Well, I think that's going to do that for this episode of No Prize Podcast. We have one more episode for the year, and then we can bring in
Wow.
2021. I don't think anybody can wait for that. So let's come back in 2 weeks. We'll get the last books of the year, and maybe we'll do a little looking forward to 2021, and maybe hopefully with a little more optimism than this year. So until then, stay safe. And outro.